Hello everyone, I'm Mayank and joining me today Miss Aruna. Aruna, welcome to the Law in People podcast.
Pleased to be here, Mayank. Thanks for having me with you.
Aruna, in the recent years we have seen there has been a growing debate in the country on the powers of government and its relationship to the people. And there have been polarizing opinions not only from the legal experts but also from the common public on these issues. So keeping that in mind, what do you think is the level of awareness among the common people about the constitution and the rights given under it?
Before coming to the awareness of it, we must understand what the Constitution is. The definition of the Constitution. The common conception is that it's a document of law written by certain people which provides rules for running the nation. Well, this idea leaves no room for the most important part of the document, that is the public, the important aspect of the constitution, the general public for whom this constitution is being made. Above everything else, our constitution is a social document and was intended primarily to serve the needs of the society, needs of general public. The preamble itself starts with the term "We the people of India." Now, coming to the awareness aspect that you asked about, given that only 65% of the Indians are literate and most of them have never had formal education in civics, so naturally, it seems that they are oblivious of their rights. This is a terrible state of affairs going on in our nation, which is considered to be the biggest democracy on universe.
But Aruna, despite the fact that most people are not formally educated in constitution, our polity has been still successfully functioning for the last 75 years, and democracy has still been sustained. So, what dangers do you see in lack of awareness? Is it really so terrible?
We are measuring success largely in terms of people voting and electing successive government. However, we have to think of democracy as more of something more than a voting ritual. There needs to be a participative constitutional culture in our nation where there is no disconnect between elite political class and common public. We have seen in election that people are just caring about just giving vote for one single day and for next 5 years. What is happening? They are not worried about this particular aspect. Poor and uneducated people in rural India effectively does not have a fundamental right when he is unaware of it. The thing is that the person is not even aware of this fundamental right, then how can he be like caring about this particular aspect? Or even in case where they are aware, the enforcement of the same seems to be outlandish in the present case, in the present scenario. We have seen police brutalities upon people on daily basis. The common man continues to remain at mercy of the authority and tries his best to live without getting in that particular way. They try to refrain from having any such trouble via which they would ever face the authority, the legal authority, constitutional authority. This in turn magnifies the problem of political corruption going on, human right violation, criminalization of politics, and so on. There are so many things which I can mention in the list. The danger of totalitarianism is always lurking in such a case. I remember Dr. B.R. Ambedkar in his concluding speech in the Constituent Assembly, he had stated that political democracy cannot last unless there is social democracy lies at the base of it, the root, the basic root of the constitution. Social democracy can only be there when we have a permanent vigilance on the power by the citizen. Only that way the spirit of constitutionalism can be realized. So there this balance needs to be maintained.
I think this is the reason why many historical constitutions have failed to establish a democratic constitutional order, right? They represented, an imposition of values from one side, from one section or faction of the community, and it was not based on an inclusive agreement. Why do you think there is a lack of awareness in terms of constitutional culture, even after roughly 75 years of independence?
Yeah, actually, I believe so. And the biggest reason is that is that the constitution per se is in English, and English is being primary language of our legislative, executive debates, or whether it's about functioning. So the English is the primary language for all this functioning and all this stuff going on. Most of the they cannot access the idea of constitution when there is hardly any worthwhile literature available in their regional language. We know India is a democracy. We have so many states with different languages. Therefore, the problem is that these people, they find it very tough to understand the legal language which is present in our constitution. Now, even among educated folks, there is only a little awareness as to when exactly a right is being violated. These people who are considered to be educated, they themselves don't know what is happening. And lastly, I believe that even if people are aware of their rights, they have lost interest in availing the remedies, as the judicial procedure is extremely cumbersome and time taking. Let it being costly. A common man finds no place in entire judicial system. So the thing is that the procedure needs to be a little easier and more accessible, and the an eye needs to be maintained on the working of the authority and the law enforcement authorities and other constitutional bodies.
I see. So, in your opinion, what should be done to grow more awareness in the common public in terms of constitution?
Yeah, I can go on for a huge list, but I can mention few of the major aspects on which we need to work on. Firstly, we have to categorize the public in terms of their social, economical status. And if you see, the foundational step is to make the lowest strata, that is the rural illiterate, understand the constitution, not in the literal sense, but in intrinsic spirit of the people. And this task can be achieved only through person to person communication in their mother tongue. If you see, when we talk to a person in our mother tongue, we get very open up. We get we get little attached with that person, whether it's about understanding or whether it's about emotion. So it's a very essential part of our learning. We must find and for that purpose we can find out volunteers from that particular community only, and we can start getting this volunteers incentivized in that particular aspect. We can pay this for people, and that would encourage these people to come up and to have more and more interactive uh, functions. I mean, so many interactive get-togethers that people can organize in the community or in that tribal area or in that rural area. Well, furthermore, the major reason why we should give opportunity to local people is because in rural area, especially the tribal people you have seen, these people are a little hesitated to interact with outsiders. There are so many examples available in India you can look for. Additionally, we can give opportunity to NGOs. NGOs can also play a major role in making people aware of various redressal mechanisms. We can incentivize NGOs, especially looking at legal matters. This can be useful for economically and socially backward class. Well, furthermore, what I believe is that these NGOs can deal with these matters relating to constitutional right from the scratch. It would be it would encourage the exploited victims to come forward, as there would be someone to show this proletariat the path of justice and how it can be accessed. We have seen that these people, they hesitate because they don't know how and what they should do. So if there would be someone to back these people, then yeah, there can be a change we can see in the prevailing scenario. The next category of people are those who have access to information technology. This is very interesting point I would like to bring in your attention, Mayank. If you see, we have seen that this access to information technology driven communication, it has increased a lot in present scenario. In
Hmm.
21st century, people have started having internet, having mobile phones, and all the things are turning out to be digitalized. When you whether you want to buy a car, a phone, or you want to do shopping, you want to buy food, everything seems to be online. So why can we not utilize this particular aspect? This can be seen as an opportunity to make majority of the Indians aware of their right at once. The internet can become a medium of direct communication with people through social media posts and through other medium of communication. We have seen this direct benefit transfer this government came up with, where money was directly transferred. So I see this social media and this internet as one of such thing via which government can directly contact and government can directly convey their ideas, and they can directly improve the awareness level regarding constitution among
I
our
see.
citizens. Yeah.
I see. I see.
And lastly, just one thing I wanted to say is that this interactive mediums would make people more and more curious to know about constitution, which would in turn make fundamental right, and cannot forget to mention fundamental duties, more and more relevant in their life. So this digital sensitization seems to be a picture of tomorrow, and for that picture we need to be prepared, and we need to start adapting from now on only. And last category is of the youth, as I've already mentioned. So youth can also play a huge role. The youth who are studying in schools or in colleges, for them we need a compulsory education of civics and of ethics at undergraduate level only, so that they can spearhead the knowledge in best way possible for our future generation. Given sufficient encouragement, this can empower the first category of the people to come up with more and more creative ideas to deal with the problem we are discussing. So that's my opinion on it.
Okay. So you mean that the lasting change can only come bottom up, right? But do
True.
you think that we need some intervention at an institutional level as well?
Yeah, exactly. Indeed. Awareness is not the end in itself. We need major political, administrative, and judicial reform. For example, the redressal to right ultimately has to come from the judiciary. However, due to huge pile of pending cases, what is happening? The whole judiciary, like justice delivery system, seems to be already overburdened. And furthermore, the cumbersome procedure of approaching courts for enjoying their rights has seemingly removed the utility of judiciary itself in our daily lives. So we refrain from approaching judiciary. We need more and more fast track courts. I see a huge difference happening after this fast track court was adapted in our judicial system for speedy redressal of cases relating to violation of fundamental rights. So we need more such courts to deal with this problem. It was even suggested by, I still remember, yeah, few years back only, Hari Salve, he himself suggested that the government, there should be basically there is a need of, he suggested that there is a need to have separate fund from the government to the lawyers appearing for such cases. Such an effort would incentivize both the lawyers and victims to come forward, because money has been playing a huge role before, like behind why constitutional right is not being realized. So yeah, I believe that this suggestion of Hari Salve should be given some heed by government, and it should be given some opportunity, or at like pilot basis we can come up with some policy where we can see if it has some impact on our in India and among the population of India. Well, like political and administrative reforms will come from the empowerment of Lokpal. I think, yeah, it's very important that Lokpal, like anti-corruption mechanism, and furthermore, like telecast of parliamentary procedure in regional languages, the mandatory annual report card of MP, MLAs, of project undertaken by them and funds invested, so to the constituency. If we keep check on all these things, definitely there would be a shift, a higher shift of realization of constitutional rights and
Indeed,
constitutional
indeed.
duties. Yep. So the access to information regarding administrative work relating to general public with access to schemes, digital certificate, a legal certificate, the internet can help us bring more transparency, and technology should be given priority in all these things. So that's
Exactly, exactly. Okay, so we certainly need to put a lot of energy into creative solutions. And indeed, a constant vigil is required, as you said. Aruna, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Mayank. I enjoyed this discussion. Thank you for having me.